Robert Redford was one of the greatest names in modern Hollywood. The 89-year-old actor died early this morning at his home in Utah. That's according to his publicist. Redford made his name as an actor starting in the 1960s.
Robert Redford was not just a movie star. He was a storyteller, a visionary, and a man who gave everything to his art, his family, and his passions. To the world, he will always be remembered as the charming outlaw in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, the sharp con man in The Sting, and the quiet but powerful voice behind All the President's Men. But behind the screen and the red carpets was a man who valued something much deeper than Hollywood fame. In his last days, those who knew him best say Robert didn't spend his time talking about awards or films. He spent them surrounded by the people he loved most. Recently, his daughter revealed the truth about those private moments, and what she shared is both heartbreaking and deeply moving. She spoke of the quiet days at his Sundance home in Utah, where Robert gazed out at the mountains he had cherished for decades. She confessed how her father found peace in nature and in family, and how even in his final hours, he remained the same man who had always lived with purpose, humility, and grace. What his daughter revealed reminds us that even Hollywood legends are human, and when the lights fade and the applause stops, what truly matters are the bonds we share with those closest to us. Robert Redford's final days were filled with honesty, peace, and love, a farewell that was as profound as the life he lived. Robert Redford's story begins long before the world knew his name. Born in Santa Monica, California in 1936, he grew up in a working-class family. His early life wasn't surrounded by glamour, far from it. He spent much of his youth navigating difficult choices, at times even falling into trouble, but his love for art, painting, and storytelling gave him direction. After a period of travel and self-discovery, Redford found his way into acting, and by the 1960s, he had become one of Hollywood's most promising young stars. Throughout his career, he developed a reputation not only as a gifted actor, but also as a man who carefully chose roles that carried meaning. Films like Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and The Sting cemented his status as a leading man, but it was his work as a director and advocate for independent cinema that revealed the depth of his vision. In 1980, he founded the Sundance Institute, which went on to create the Sundance Film Festival, an event that changed the landscape of independent film forever. For Redford, it wasn't about the fame. It was about giving a voice to stories that deserved to be told. But as he grew older, Redford began to distance himself from the fast-paced life of Hollywood. By 2018, he formally announced his retirement from acting, marking the end of an extraordinary chapter. At the time, he said he wanted to focus on his family and personal passions. This wasn't surprising to those who knew him well, as Robert had always been a private man who preferred the quiet of nature to the chaos of celebrity. In the years that followed, he settled at his Sundance home in Utah. The mountains, the trees, and the open air became his sanctuary. Friends and family often described how Robert spent his mornings walking through the property, reflecting on life and enjoying the simplicity of nature. He spoke often about how the land itself grounded him, reminding him that no matter how big a star he became, he was still just a man connected to the earth. As time passed, Robert's health began to decline, and his family grew more protective of his privacy. Unlike many celebrities whose final years are documented by the press, Redford's world became smaller, more intimate. Those around him said that he did not fear the end. Instead, he accepted it as part of life's natural rhythm. He often expressed gratitude for the long journey he had been given and the opportunities he had embraced. His daughter later admitted that even in his last days, Robert wasn't interested in revisiting his career achievements or speaking about Hollywood. Instead, he talked about family memories, the importance of protecting nature, and the values he hoped his children and grandchildren would carry forward. This was the side of Robert Redford that the world rarely saw. The quiet father and grandfather sitting by the window, reflecting on a life well lived. To his family, those final moments were bittersweet. They could see that the man they loved was preparing to say goodbye, yet he did so with grace, dignity, and peace. His daughter confessed that he never once complained or expressed fear. Instead, he shared words of wisdom, encouraging them to live fully and to embrace authenticity. the world may remember Robert Redford as the Hollywood legend, but to those who stood by him in those final days, he was simply a man at peace, grateful for the life he had lived and the love that surrounded him. As Robert Redford's health declined, his home in Sundance, Utah, became the center of his final chapter. Unlike the bustling sets he had worked on for decades, this time the environment was quiet, peaceful, and filled with the warmth of family. His children, including his daughter Amy, were by his side, ensuring that his last days were not marked by loneliness, but by love and presence. Those close to him described how the Redford household transformed during that period. It was not filled with sadness alone. It was also a gathering place where laughter and memories filled the rooms. Family members shared stories from childhood, moments from holidays, and recollections of Robert's long career. These conversations were not about Hollywood glamour, but about the everyday moments that mattered most. Robert was known as a man of few but powerful words, and even in his final days, he continued to speak with intention. According to Amy, her father often reminded them that the true measure of life is not the awards on a shelf, but the relationships one builds and the impact one leaves on others. He encouraged his children and grandchildren to focus on authenticity, kindness, and resilience. These were the values he had lived by, and in his last moments, he wanted to pass them on. The family often gathered around his bedside, sometimes reading to him, other times simply sitting in silence while he gazed out at the mountains. The window view of the vast Utah landscape became a silent companion for Robert in those days. He found comfort in nature's stillness, and his family found comfort in knowing he was at peace. His daughter later revealed that Robert rarely spoke about illness or pain. Instead, he wanted to talk about life. He recalled his younger years, his early struggles, and the pivotal choices that shaped his career. He told stories of traveling through Europe as a young man, of discovering art and theater, and of the dreams he once carried. These reflections weren't about regret, but about appreciation for the path he had walked. Grandchildren were especially important to him in those final days. Amy admitted that he lit up whenever they were near, often smiling as they played or sat with him. He had always been a devoted grandfather, and seeing the next generation gave him strength even as his body weakened. For Robert, the continuity of family was proof that his life's work extended far beyond film. The family made sure that music, one of Robert's quiet joys, was always present. They played records he loved, including folk and jazz, filling the house with melodies that soothed him. At times, he would close his eyes and let the music wash over him, a reminder of the simple pleasures that defined his life outside Hollywood. In those intimate days, the Redford family discovered something profound. Even in the face of loss, there was beauty in togetherness. They learned to treasure the smallest gestures, holding hands, sharing smiles, sitting together without words. Robert's presence, though fading, remained powerful, and his calm acceptance of life's end gave his family strength. Amy's confession about those days was clear. Her father's passing was not defined by sorrow alone. It was a time when bonds deepened, when stories were shared, and when love became the most important presence in the room. She described it as both heartbreaking and healing, a reminder that even in goodbye, there can be grace. Robert Redford's final days with his family were not about fame, headlines, or public attention. They were about connection, memory, and legacy, the things that endure long after the cameras stop rolling. In the days following Robert Redford's passing, the public naturally reflected on his incredible career. Headlines praised his films, his influence on American cinema, and his creation of the Sundance Institute. But it was his daughter Amy's confession about his final days that revealed the most human and touching side of his story. Her words gave fans a glimpse into a reality that was not captured by cameras or written in history books, a truth that belonged only to the family until she shared it. Amy explained that her father's final days were not dominated by fear, but by a sense of calm. She revealed that Robert seemed almost prepared for the moment, as if he had been quietly accepting life's rhythm long before his body began to fade. He was at peace, she admitted, and that's all we could hope for him. Those words carried the weight of both sorrow and gratitude, and they painted a picture of a man who left this world with dignity. She confessed that Robert often spent time looking out at the mountains from his Sundance home, telling his family that nature had always been his greatest teacher. The vastness of the landscape reminded him of the cycles of life, the beauty of change, and the inevitability of endings. Amy said her father wanted his family to see the same truth, that nothing lasts forever, but everything leaves a mark. This was his way of preparing them not just for his departure, but for the lives they would continue to live. Her words also revealed a man who, despite his fame, valued the simplest of joys. She shared that in his last days, Robert would smile at the sound of his grandchildren's laughter or the sight of sunlight falling through the trees outside his window. He didn't want us to remember him as the star, Amy said. He wanted us to remember him as a father, a grandfather, and someone who loved us deeply. Amy's confession was more than just a daughter speaking about her father. It was a window into Robert Redford's true character. Fans who had admired him for decades realized that the qualities he displayed on screen, strength, thoughtfulness, humility, were not performances. They were real. He was a man who carried those traits into his personal life and, most importantly, into his final days. One of the most moving truths she revealed was Robert's insistence that his family continue to live authentically. He warned them not to get lost in superficial pursuits or distractions. Instead, he told them to focus on honesty, passion, and creativity. This was the same philosophy that had guided him in his career, choosing meaningful roles, supporting independent filmmakers, and standing up for causes he believed in. Now, at the end, it became his final lesson to his children and grandchildren. Amy admitted that watching her father face the end with such serenity changed her own perspective on life. She said it was painful to lose him, but it was also inspiring to see how he handled it, with courage, clarity, and grace. It gave the family strength to let go, even though their hearts were breaking. Her confession was heartbreaking for fans because it stripped away the Hollywood glamour and showed Robert Redford for what he truly was, a man who loved, who taught, and who said goodbye with peace in his heart. For the world, he will forever be a legend. But for his family, his final gift was the reminder that love, wisdom, and authenticity outshine fame and last far longer than applause. Robert Redford's passing was not only the end of a remarkable life, but also the closing of a chapter in American culture. Few actors, directors, or activists have shaped Hollywood and society in the way he did. His daughter's heartfelt confession about his final days gave us a glimpse into the private man behind the legend. But his legacy ensures that his presence will never truly fade. To the world, Robert will forever be remembered for the iconic films that defined an era. His portrayal of the charming outlaw in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or the con man in The Sting, created timeless characters who continue to resonate with audiences today. His role in All the President's Men captured a pivotal moment in history and proved that film could both entertain and enlighten. Even decades after their release, these works remain cultural landmarks, a testament to Redford's enduring artistry. But Robert's contributions went beyond acting. As a director, he brought sensitivity and depth to films like Ordinary People, which earned him an Academy Award. His vision reshaped American cinema, but perhaps his greatest contribution came through his passion for independent filmmaking. By founding the Sundance Institute and launching the Sundance Film Festival, he created a platform for new voices, directors, writers, and storytellers who might otherwise have gone unheard. Today, Sundance is a global institution, nurturing talent from around the world. That legacy alone ensures Robert's influence will ripple through future generations of filmmakers. Yet, as Amy Redford's confession revealed, Robert's true legacy cannot be measured only by films or festivals. It lives in the lessons he passed on to his family, the wisdom of living authentically, the importance of protecting nature, and the value of love over fame. These were the beliefs that defined his final days, and they will remain guiding lights for those he left behind. His daughter admitted that his last words to them were less about achievement and more about gratitude. He wanted his family to remember the simple truths, that life is fleeting, that nature teaches us resilience, and that love endures beyond death. Fans, too, have embraced this perspective. After news of his passing, tributes poured in from all over the world. Many remembered the characters he played, but just as many recalled his activism, his quiet strength, and his ability to remain humble despite immense fame. Admirers spoke of his work for environmental causes, his dedication to artists, and the dignity with which he carried himself throughout his career. In many ways, the confession of his daughter only deepened that admiration, showing that the man the public adored was the same man his family cherished. The legacy Robert Redford leaves behind is twofold. On one hand, it is the public legacy of a Hollywood icon who helped shape modern cinema and gave opportunities to countless new voices. On the other, it is the private legacy of a father and grandfather whose love, wisdom, and presence changed the lives of those closest to him. Together, these legacies create a picture of a man whose impact went far beyond entertainment. As his daughter reflected, Robert's final days were not about endings, but about continuations. His body may have grown weak, but his values, his teachings, and his love continue to live on. The family finds comfort in knowing that his spirit remains with them, in the mountains of Sundance, in the films that shaped generations, and in the memories they carry in their hearts. For the world, Robert Redford was a legend. For his family, he was a source of love and wisdom. In both roles, his legacy is eternal.